Let's just take a moment to be still where we are in our homes, to be quiet together before God. Lord, we do say that we look to you. We lift our eyes to you at the start of this year. We thank you for your presence in our lives, in our homes, in our day to day. We welcome you, Lord, and we choose to look towards you. We give you all that's unresolved, all that's painful, all that we wish wasn't the way it is. We give that to you. We ask that right here in our lives as we have them, we might meet you. We might know you. Amen. Good. Well, as Helen said, we are starting a new sermon series today. We're calling it The Most Excellent Way, our little tribute to Bill and Ted. I will show you the most excellent way. I've not actually seen the new Bill and Ted film. If anyone's seen it and has time for a short review in the comments, then do put that in. In 1 Corinthians 11, 12 and 13, Paul is writing to a church that he seems to have spent a lot of time with, but that seems to have been troublesome. And he goes into some real deep but practical advice on how they celebrate with bread and wine together and remember Jesus' death and resurrection. Advice on how to make the most of spiritual gifts, and he encourages them to practice gifts of prophecy and healing, and words of knowledge and speaking of tongues. And he talks about how they can be used in worship, and we love those things. We love practicing those things. He talks about university. No, he doesn't. Unity and diversity, and describes church, God's people, as being the body of Christ, all with different skills and giftings, but making up Jesus' body on earth. And it's deep and it's rich and it's powerful stuff. And then he finishes that section by saying, and yet, there's still something better to come. And yet, I will show you the most excellent way. All that practical how to do life together stuff's really important. And we love seeing those things in our church. But yet, I will show you the most excellent way. And then he goes on to a passage that you may well hear at weddings or funerals, a really famous, probably one of the most famous passages in the Bible. He goes on, he says this, and yet I will show you the most excellent way. This is 1 Corinthians 13 now. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. What Paul's saying to this church that he loves, that he worries about, that he frets over, what he's saying is that the most excellent way, the perfect way, the way of God is love. And as 2020 as we say goodbye to 2020, as we begin 2021, and as we go through January and February, we're going to be reflecting on the statements then that Paul describes love as. Love is patient, love is kind, it doesn't envy or boast, it's not easily angered. I'm going to reflect on these and see if we can discover in that most excellent way practices, ways of living as God's people that will help us grow love in our lives today. God's most excellent way. Can you put that slide up again? God's most excellent way is love. I wonder how this new year has started for you. Wonder if you've got energy for self-improvement or resolutions or things like that. I'll be honest, I don't really do the whole New Year resolution or big effort to improve myself in January type thing. I've done it in the past, and if you're doing that, massive respect to you, well done. I find my body and my being wants to slow down. There's probably a bit of me that actually, if I'm honest, wants to hibernate, wants to focus on, I guess, kind of being happy, and also on listening to God at this time. And so they're kind of my focuses personally in January. How do I make the most of this month? How do I try and live well? And how do I go slow enough to listen to what God's saying about this year? How do I make space to see if there's a word or a picture that God might want to give me? And then as the year goes on, I can turn that into practices or disciplines that I embrace in Lent in February or March. That's just my pattern. So I'm really excited that we get to think together about this most excellent way, about living, following the simple but costly call to love. I wonder how you're doing in 2021. How was your Christmas? How was your New Year? Are you feeling relaxed and ready? Are you feeling rested? Are you feeling stretched and busy and that there's loads of things on the horizon that you've got to figure out or work through? Do you feel confident facing the opportunities and challenges coming our way? Or do you feel bewildered and uncertain and needing something to pin your direction on, needing some kind of compass, needing some kind of map? If that's the case, the map Paul offers us is love. And he does it knowing that Jesus offers exactly the same map. The word he uses in this passage for love is well known. It's agape love. It's the kind of big, unconditional, you don't need to do anything to deserve it kind of love. It's bigger than romantic love. It's bigger than brotherly love. It's bigger than physical attraction. It's the generous love of God. It's a word that Jesus uses for love as well. He uses it in Matthew's gospel. Someone comes up to him and says, "Teacher, what should I do? What's the best way?" And Jesus answers this. He replies, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbour as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments." Actually, this comes up in the Gospels in different points at different times. And when Jesus is asked, this is what he says. The greatest thing to do, the way, is to practice love and to learn how to grow in your capacity to love. To love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and your mind. And to love your neighbour as yourself. This that Jesus says is actually referencing something that God says to his people in Deuteronomy in a couple of different places as they are learning how to follow God in the desert. And they're discovering a way that will take them forward. What they learn is exactly that. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And then at another place, they're told to love their neighbour as yourself. You see, all the way through the Bible, I love it when the Bible is all joined up and you get hyperlinks between things. All the way through, this perfect way is given to us to love. To love. And so we're going to explore, how that affects the way we live. And we'll unpack, what does it mean to be passionate about truth and justice, because love delights in truth. We're going to explore how do we live as people who are patient, because love is patient. We're going to unpack how to follow this way together. But for today, I just want us to dwell on that calling from Jesus, echoed by Paul, to practice the most perfect way, to love the Lord our God with all our heart and soul, with all our mind, with all our strength, to love our neighbour as ourselves. If you feel adrift slightly, if you feel like you don't know where to focus right now, why don't you focus on love? Back to that agape word for a moment or two. It's often associated with preference, preferring other people, choosing what's best for others over what's best for you. And where God's love or people's love is described using that word agape, it's very often linked to that sense of, what do you prefer? Are you preferring the better way? Are you choosing love? Are you practicing things that show that others are more important to you? So how would you prefer God? How do you love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind? How do you love your neighbour as yourself? Well, as we look at that idea, let's notice a couple of things. First of all, let's remember that often when we've talked about this, we've talked about love in three directions. And you can see it in this passage. Love God, that's upward, worship, a life listening to him and prayer. Love yourself, that's inward, learning to come to terms with who you are, learning to accept yourself, yes, warts and all, and receive God's love for yourself. And practice gentleness and kindness to yourself. Maybe this January, actually one of the best things you can do is practice gentleness and kindness to yourself. And learning to love the world, others, neighbour, up and out. So we see in this passage love in three directions, but we also see in this passage love with three alls. Well, four, but I'm kind of condensing one into two. Three alls: heart and soul, mind and strength. So we love in three directions, and we love with three alls. Love the Lord your God with all of your heart and your soul. Love the Lord your God with all your mind. Love the Lord your God with all your strength. How might we do those things in January together? Well, did you know that two people can train themselves to love? Did you know two people can, in the right circumstances, make themselves fall in love? Wonder what that statement makes you think of. I wonder if you agree. It was discovered by a psychologist, Arthur Aaron, a New York psychologist, who ran some experiments to see if he could create the conditions where love might happen. He called those conditions interpersonal closeness. And he discovered that if he had a list of 36 questions, and I've got the list, if you want to try this out with someone close to you, have a word with me and I can make sure you get it. 36 questions that gradually got more and more personal and close. And then encouraged the two people to ask those questions of each other and then spend 4 minutes staring into each other's eyes. They would develop the kind of closeness that breeds love. If he had his test subjects go through those questions and then sit in silence, staring at each other's eyes for 4 minutes, love would be what's developed. He called it interpersonal closeness. It's a fascinating study because often we think love's something that happens to us, but actually deep down we know love is something we grow. Love is something we make happen. I think it's really interesting when we're called to love God with all our heart and soul. Love God with our emotions, our gut, our whole being. To think, well, how do we do that? We do that by developing interpersonal closeness with God. That means time with God in worship. That means time where, yes, kind of in the metaphorical, yes, with your imagination or your kind of your spiritual ears, you get to stare at God for the amount of time that requires closeness to develop. If you want to grow love in your life, if you want to be able to love the Lord your God with your heart and your soul, how might you develop interpersonal closeness with God this January? How might you get close enough so that it feels like you and the Almighty are looking into each other's eyes for a period of time? One of my favourite things to do in the morning is to light a candle and just try and sit in silence for 20 minutes. I say it's one of my favourite things. It's also one of my least favourite things to do, because sometimes it's really hard and my mind is just full of stuff already at that time in the morning. But sometimes as I do that, my life slows down a bit, and I can sense in my gut interpersonal closeness developing. I guess it's a kind of contemplative practice. Similar things sometimes happen to me when I'm lost in worship, or when I'm out in nature. How might you develop that similar gut connection as you invest in your love for God this January? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul. And love him with all your mind. We can invest in and grow our capacity to love by investing our intellect into things. So what do you listen to? What do you read? What's feeding you this January? Is it all about the latest series on Netflix, or the funny podcasts that you listen to when you go running? Those are great. Is it all about the hobby or the thing that you've discovered that you really love doing? Those things are fantastic. Actually, those things are gifts of God. Humour, hobbies, nature, those things that we love, they make life rich. And part of thriving in January might be to embrace some of those things and find time to do some of those things. But there's an even better way, which is, how do you invest your mind, your intellect, into loving God? Is there space to read and ponder God's word, the Bible, in your life this January? Do you gather with other people? Are you part of a Kairos community, or perhaps part of a Bible study group, or something where you gather and talk about and learn from each other as you listen to God and study together? Do you read? Have you got a decent Christian book on the go that's feeding your way of thinking, and it's challenging you and prompting you to take steps towards God, that's growing your mind's capacity to love him? There are some fantastic books and podcasts out there right now that are growing, that are really good at growing capacity to love. If you're interested and you want to know some more, Helen and I can share some of the things that we're listening to and reading right now that are making us take steps towards God. How do you invest in your mind? Is there a course you might like to do? So there's some training you could do that could sharpen your ability to love God, or sharpen your ability to love other people. A bit of training that you could put into practice to learn counselling, or how to work with people who are going through grief, or how to parent well, or a bit of training that could encourage you to have a side project that develops, or that sharpens your love of a particular craft. Those things as well are important. Allow your mind to be sharpened. How could you learn to love God with all your mind this January? And then with all your strength. See, love isn't just an intellectual concept or a feeling. It's something that we do. It's something we live out with all our strength. Love for God affects how we live. It immediately draws us to love others. And so it's a muscular, active, moving thing. How's your active love right now? Who do you care for? What are you involved in? What community organisations, groups, projects are you involved in? Are you involved in them just because you have found yourself there? You're not quite sure how it's happened. Or are they an opportunity to love others? Are the people in your life that frankly are really difficult right now, that you have to choose to respond graciously and generously towards? Could they be places where there's an opportunity to grow in your ability to love others? One of people I've enjoyed learning from, I've been growing my ability to love God with my mind through, is a vicar called Chris Rogers. He leads a church in London. And when he talks about this passage, he talks about loving God with heart, head, and hands. I think that's a really simple way of thinking about it. How might you grow capacity to love God with your heart, with your head, and your hands this January? Is there one of those three things that you feel a particular drawing to? Is it actually time to invest your brain in, well, a butterfly has just flown into our room? How exciting. Is there a way, Bethan, why don't you open the window and then we can let the butterfly out? It's really beautiful. I think it's, that's the wrong season for butterflies, isn't it? That's a bit concerning, but it's probably better out there, maybe. If all the comments come in and say, don't move the butterfly, then we'll leave it. How might you grow your ability to love? Is there one of those things that God might call you to focus on? I've got one more thing to say, but let's just refocus on that and have 20 seconds quiet as we ponder that question. Head, heart, hands. Is the Lord inviting you to focus on one of those areas the way you could grow love for him this season? How do we do that? How do we take that forward? The way we grow in this way, the way we learn how to practice and develop love, is receiving God's love. Another really famous passage, 1 John 3. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God. And that is what we are. The reason the world does not know us is that it did not know him. We don't generate our love out of nothing. We don't strive or work to improve ourselves on an uphill with a wind running against us. We respond to God's love by sharing love back. It may be that actually the thing you need to hear at the start of this year isn't, here's a few things you could do to practice growing. It's simply, you are dearly loved. You are deeply, deeply loved by a God who made you, who longs to be part of your life, who longs to walk with you. We all need to hear that from time to time. Because in many ways, we're beings that are designed to be love reflectors. I guess in lots of ways we're kind of like solar panels. We're created to absorb God's love and then be able to turn that back to God and to others, to be able to energize our lives through it. And at the start of this year, I want to encourage you to be more solar. Now, it might be funny to talk about solar panels at the time of year when it's darkest, when the nights are longest. But did you know, actually, that solar panels don't require sunny days to work? I found this out doing a bit of research this week. A solar panel will generate electricity, will generate energy on a cloudy day. Some will even generate energy at night. It's just that they don't generate quite as much as on a sunny day. Even in a period of life where there's clouds or darkness, you can receive and respond to God's love. So I want to encourage you this January, be solar. Allow yourself to point to and absorb God's love. In fact, the best kind of big scale solar panels right now direct themselves during the day. They kind of turn during the day to be facing the direction of the sun, so that they might absorb the most energy. What a great image. How could you learn to be more solar this January? To orientate your life so that you might receive as much of God's love for you as you can. Absorb that, and as you do so, grow your capacity to love Him, to love yourself, and to love other people. Now, we will be able to say loads more about that over the next few weeks, because we're going to get right into this 1 Corinthians 13 passage and look at how God's patient and how we can be patient, and look at how God is gentle and kind and we can be gentle and kind and all those things. But for today, I invite you simply to say yes to God again, to come to Him, to say, maybe, Lord, in my mind, I know the idea that you love me, but I want to receive that love and grow in my capacity to love. So let's again just take a minute or two. Can you take that picture off? Thank you. Let's just take a moment or two to still ourselves before God. Perhaps just in your mind's eye, imagine yourself turning to face God's light, to be in a position where you might absorb His love. Might be as you do that, you think of things in the way. You might realise there's something that's blocking your ability to receive that love. Just offer that to Him. Receive His love. Let's pray together for our heads, for our hearts, and for our hands, that they would be filled with God's love. Let's pray for our heads first. Perhaps put a hand on your head. Lord, we thank you for the mind you have given us. We thank you that you love our brains. We pray that you would show us in new ways how much you love us. And you'd grow our capacity to think of you, to wrestle and chew over your truth, and to love you with all of our mind this year. Give us focus and attention on loving you. Amen. Just put a hand on your heart. Lord, we thank you that you've given us our whole being, our feelings, our gut responses, our subconscious inbuilt reflexes. Lord, we thank you that you love our hearts and our souls. We receive that love. We ask that you would grow our capacity to love you with all of our heart and all of our soul this year. Amen. And just hold out your hands. Lord, we thank you that you love our hands. You love it when your people work. You love our efforts to love others. You cheer on our attempts to share your goodness. We thank you that you love the stuff we make and you love the things we do. We pray that our hands would receive your love. We pray that you would grow our capacity to love you with our whole bodies, with our actions and our wallets and our time and our energy. This year, show us how to love you with all of our strength. Amen.